Well, I'm delighted to welcome Caissie Levy to our DMT podcast to talk about Next to Normal, in which she's currently appearing at Wyndham's Theatre until the 21st of September. And to just get myself in the zone, Caissie, I've just listened to you and Eleanor Worthington Cox perform Maybe on YouTube. Do yourself a favour, folks, go and listen to it. It is so beautiful. This show, honestly, the audience reactions have been amazing. At a recent matinee, actually, with one of our programme team, they went to it and the standing ovation was theatre-wide and incredibly emotional, a bit like what happened when I saw it. I mean, have you generally felt that the audiences have connected to the play?
Oh, very much so, yes. I've been fortunate enough to work on the West End before in big shows, and this reaction is unlike anything I've ever experienced in London. And from what the audience members tell me, they don't see a standing ovation like this every day, and we're fortunate enough to have people jump up every single day because I think it's just such a release at the end of the show emotionally, and they want to sort of commune with us and we want to commune with them. So it's been this really beautiful curtain call experience every day.
What I've also been aware of is there's a lot of people coming back to see it again.
Yes, very much so. I mean, it's always had a bit of a cult following among young people. It was sort of on the forefront of rock musicals when it came out in 2009 on Broadway. I saw it a couple times at that moment as well. And I think it just had so much truth and humanity in a way that maybe people weren't expecting a musical to have. And it just resonates really, really deeply. And I think people crave that in their art, you know? And so I think that's what accounts for people coming back again and again to just experience it, which is so, so special for us.
Yeah, I mean, portraying someone with bipolar disorder must be a bit of a challenge. I mean, how do you prepare for that?
It's super challenging. It's definitely the most difficult role I've ever played, physically, emotionally, as far as research as well. I definitely come to it with a little bit of experience. I'm not bipolar myself, but I do deal with depression and anxiety, and that's a huge part of Diana's journey as well. I'm a mother. Diana's a mother. I have a boy and a girl. She has a boy and a girl. So I've been married a long time. So has she. So there's certainly parallels that I can use a lot of who I am as a human being. And then there's plenty that I've had to invent and research. And, you know, with Mike Longhurst and Anne Yee, our director and our movement director, do a lot of experimentation in the rehearsal room trying to figure out who this woman is. So it's a lot. Yes, it's a lot. It's a heavy lift. By the end of the week, I'm totally shattered. It's also the most fulfilled I've ever been on stage in any role I've ever played.
Yeah, I have to say it's an extraordinary performance. And obviously, you, as you just said, by the end of the week, you're exhausted because it can only be draining. But what we experience in the audience with that intense emotion that you portray, I mean, compared to other roles, this is clearly different in that sense, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, it's so real, you know?
Yes.
I think everybody feels connected to different characters in this piece at any given scene. Even if you yourself haven't dealt with mental health or you don't have a family member dealing with mental health issues, there's so many more layers in this piece that you can connect to. You know, if you're a teenager, you're looking at this piece from a very different place than a grown adult with kids. If you're in the medical profession, you're going to have your views on this piece. The mother-daughter, mother-son, father-daughter, father-son relationships are really well drawn and written so beautifully. So there's just a wealth of relationships being explored on stage. And I think that's what people are responding to. You add in the music and the visual and the band, and it's explosive. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, that the music is beautiful. I mean, the heartfelt doesn't do it justice, really, as far as I'm concerned. You're taken to another place. And what I would also like to say to people is, it's not all doom and gloom. There is an extra dimension to it that is uplifting.
Definitely. And I mean, I think that's what makes it so human. It's got the mess of life written right into it, you know? And Tom Kitt and Brian Yorkie, they've written lyrics in a book that are funny and sexy and weird the way real life is. And so, yeah, you get the release of the doom and gloom. You get a good cry in there, but you also laugh quite a lot more than people expect to when they're coming to a show about a woman with bipolar.
Well, I have to say, I was one of those people. I was sort of thinking, oh no, God. And it came out, you know, and it was just glorious. It really, honestly, it's a fantastic piece. It's a small cast, quite a small cast, and because most of you are family in it, it does feel intimate. There's an interplay, as you said earlier, about the mother, father, daughter, son, all of that. I mean, was that a deliberate directorial move to help the audiences connect, do you think? Or was that the writing?
I think that the writing is there, but what we have been able to do in this production is have the luxury of time. We got to do it last summer at the Donmar, which was total magic. And we had a very long, at least by my standards, rehearsal process. I think we did about 6 weeks. In New York, when we're doing a Broadway show or an off-Broadway show, we usually have 4 weeks max and maybe a longer preview period. But here in London, we tend to have a longer rehearsal period, shorter tech and previews. So it probably all balances out. But what we got to do at the Donmar was really play and explore during that rehearsal process. And then we got to go away for about 9 months, sit with these characters, and come back to the rehearsal room for this transfer with a huge amount of trust already in place and a run under our belts. And so I think that the family dynamic has just grown and deepened. And I mean, Mike and Anne and Anna Cooper at the Donmar, they have assembled a pretty stellar cast of actors. I mean, it's a gorgeous company. And to get to play these scenes with Jamie and Jack and Elle and Trevor and Jack, we have 2 Jacks in our show. It's new every night, It's really like we have our marks and we hit our marks, but we play and we try things and we have each other's backs. And that has been a huge, huge gift and a huge reason why I've personally loved my experience as much as I have.
I mean, in terms of the collective icons on stage, in terms of productions, from Frozen to Harry Potter, Jamie Parker, as you mentioned, Trevor Dion Nicholas in Aladdin, and you were...
And Elle, one of the original Matildas.
One of the original Matildas, and you were Elsa in Frozen. Yeah. I mean, from Elsa in Frozen to Diana in Next to Normal, quite a contrast.
It is. I've had the good fortune of meeting Mike Longhurst, our director, doing Caroline or Change, which is also a total 180 from those 2 parts. And that's where we first met. He cast me to do that transfer in New York on Broadway. And working with him and Anne then, I was like, I want to work with these 2 people forever. And so when he asked me to play this part, not only has this been a dream role of mine, and I know Tom Kitt for many years and David Stone, our producer, from doing Wicked for him when I was basically a baby starting out in the business. So as much as I've known all these folks, it's like the perfect storm of relationships and the right timing and the right company. And when things align, I think the fireworks go off, and that's the beauty of what this production has been.
And I think that is, there's a real kind of an essence to what you're saying, which is you cannot completely manufacture it. There's an alchemy to it, isn't there? It's not something you can manufacture out of a book and go, and she'll do that, and then he'll look at art, and then they'll say this.
No, completely. The technical aspects are there at the beginning, and then we sort of ignore them. We put them in play, and then you have to sort of shut the door on that end of things and just kind of play the scenes. And that's what's so cool about the approach that our team has taken to this production. And I think that's what the audiences are responding to, is just like the naturalism, the realism, and the willingness to be kind of messy and brave up there. I want to sound like we're patting ourselves on the back, but I think that it's...
No, you're not. I'm going to cut in there and say you're not patting yourself on the back. You're not doing it justice, because it is phenomenal.
Thank you. And I think the audience is such a huge part of that, like we feel their energy so much in this piece because it is so intimate, as you were saying. Even in the transfer, I think a lot of people were worried, will it lose the magic it had at the Donmar in this tiny space? And in fact, I think it's done the other end of it. I think it's completely like exploded and held in the bigger space. And I think it's also allowed the audience a little more freedom to like take on the show, have their feelings about it, not feel as though they're in the middle of the scene with us, but they're still really close to us, and we feel their reactions, we hear their laughter and their tears, and it's an integral part of the performance every night.
I must ask though, when you're in the intensity of the pieces, what we've said, and the interaction with you all, it's one thing at the Gielgud where it's end on in the proscenium arch, but at the Donmar, I mean, people are almost in the kitchen with you. Was there ever a moment where you just thought, what is that person doing? Did you ever get distracted?
Yes. I mean, there were moments where people were having such strong reactions to the show where they had to take a break outside or they were crying so much or feeling so much panic or, so that we absolutely were aware of. And we just tried to sort of like hold them. We had amazing front of house staff at Donmar, and they really took care of the patrons so beautifully. But yeah, there was no denying the connection, they really were in the kitchen with us. I had so many friends from New York come over last summer, and a lot this summer too, but so many people were just showing up. I had someone from New York almost every single night. It was shocking. And they all, my very close friends, were like, this was too close to watch you do that. This was uncomfortable, because there's just so many feelings for everyone. And I think this little bit of distance that we have at the Wyndhams has really helped. Just a little bit, an extra foot of distance is useful in a show like this.
Yeah, definitely. The thing that I wanted to ask you about was the obvious Broadway versus the West End in terms of audience. Do you find them very different, the same ultimately? Is there a dynamic that's different?
I mean, I think there's ever so slightly different cultural differences, I suppose. I find London audiences are really great listeners in a way that American audiences aren't as adept at being. I don't know if that sentence made sense. But yeah, I feel like London audiences are incredibly savvy and intelligent, and they see a lot of theater. And so it's not a given that they get up at the end for a standing ovation, and it's not a given that you get them on side. So I feel that when we get them, and that's so satisfying. And I really appreciate the London crowds, because they are so clued in with us, and they love theater and they want to participate. And this is not a sit back and get entertained show. This is a lean forward and be brave show for the crowd.
But rewarding.
Totally rewarding. I mean, for me as an audience member, when I go and see something, I want to be challenged, and I want to come away thinking about stuff and asking questions. And I want to leave a theater and call a friend and be like, you've got to see the show so we can talk about it. That's my favorite kind of theater to do and to see. And we definitely get that from our crowds.
And what I meant to say earlier was, just to be completely clear, is that you're not actually from America. You're actually Canadian.
I am, yes. I grew up.
I wanted to say that up front, because I know Canadians can be a little bit,
We like you to know that we're Canadian, definitely. Yes. Yes, now I'm a dual citizen, so I'm also American now, but I've spent, 30 years, had kids and a husband, and so I thought it was time. And I'm very excited to vote this fall. But that aside, yes, I'm from Canada originally, and I actually feel like a huge connection to England, because culturally Canada, or at least Ontario, where I'm from, and London have a very similar vibe. And so it always feels like home when I'm here. And I still, when I think about my career, I can't believe that I have had such a connection to London and how welcomed I've been here each time I've done a show. Like, it's something I never planned on, because I didn't think it would happen for me. I never dared to dream that I would be someone who got to do shows on the West End. And the fact that that's been part of my story is like the biggest privilege.
Oh, listen, it's our privilege to have you. I hate all that schmaltzy stuff where people go, oh, for God's sake, pull yourself together. But I can't say it enough, because honestly, the show is so amazing. But you've also been involved with the Grammys. You're a Grammy-nominated performer.
Yeah, that's been crazy for me. It was our cast album for Caroline or Change. It got nominated. And the way the Grammys work is they only nominate, I think, 3 or 4 of the principal singers on the album, but it's really a nomination for the whole album and the whole company. And that was the show I met Mike Longhurst on. So that was super, super special. And Nigel Lilly, our music supervisor, is like best of the best. And we recorded that cast album in a day, I think, maybe a day and a half. And then when we got the Grammy nominations, we just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, who thought that would ever happen? Not me.
No, what a great honor. The future, you mentioned that you're looking forward to the fall, because you're presumably going back to America.
Yeah.
What's next for you, actually? Just as a matter of interest, do you know? Or because you don't always know?
Yeah, you don't always know. I do have a really exciting project lined up for this fall at New York City Center Encores. I'm going to be playing Mother in Ragtime. There's a gala performance just for 2 weeks with a pretty fantastic cast. Brandon Uranowitz, who I did Leopoldstadt with, who won the Tony for his performance in that. He and I are going to be basically opposite each other. Joshua Henry, who is like one of our brightest talents on Broadway, is going to be playing Cole House. So I get home from Next to Normal right after we close. I have 3 weeks to be in Momland. And then I've got a month of Ragtime. And then after that, who knows? I have some concert work lined up for the year. I hope to come back to London and do another concert because it's been a minute since I've gotten a chance to do that. But we'll see, you know, the world of an actor. You just don't know what's coming down.
We really very much hope that you'll come back to London for a concert.
Oh,
and I was also just curious to know, what's it like to perform at Carnegie Hall?
Oh my God. That's something else that I never dared to dream to get. And that has, I mean, I've gotten to do it twice and it's bananas. It's truly, the first time I sang there, I did an entire evening of Candor and Ebb music, which, as you I'm sure know, is incredibly wordy music. Lots of lyrics, no teleprompters, lots of memorizing. It was myself and Tony Asbeck and the New York Pops. And it was an out-of-body experience. It really, really was. Somehow I remembered all my lyrics. I don't know how. John Candor was there. We sang him happy birthday at the end of the performance. It was wild. It was a real New York moment, you know, especially for a little Canadian girl growing up in a town outside of Toronto, something I never thought would happen to me. So, yeah, I hope I get
when you think of the icons that have appeared there, I mean, the building itself is iconic, but when you think of all the people who've performed there, do you get a sense of that when you're on that stage? Do you feel, my God, Judy Garland was here?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. They have these gorgeous photographs backstage of all the legends that have performed there. You totally do. You're like, I better rise to the occasion here because the history in these walls is serious. But honestly, that's how I feel in the West End theaters too. Like, so many greats have graced these stages, and of course on Broadway as well. It's just like to be part of the legacy, even in a tiny, tiny way, you know, just to be counted among the people that get to do this for a living. We are so damn lucky, you know. It's never lost on me. Even on the end of the show weeks when I'm exhausted from playing Diana, I still look at my actors in the company and we all look at each other and go, damn, we're tired, but wow, it was worth it, you know.
Oh, listen, it's a piece that people should not miss. That's what I'm going to say. And I want to say thank you very much, Caissie, because I know, as we've discussed, the performance itself is such a challenge to get through. So for you to take the time out to do this chat with us has really been appreciated. Thank you very much indeed, and wish you well for the rest of the run. And get your tickets now, folks.
Yes, come see us. We only have 4 weeks left, and we love our crowds. So please come join us. And thank you for having me, Bill.
Not at all. For the eagle-eyed, or is it the eagle-eared among you, you may have noticed that I said Gielgud Theatre. That's where Caissie was when she was in Hair. Of course, it's at Wyndham's Theatre, and it's there until the 21st of September, next to normal. Go on the website, www.delfontmackintosh.co.uk, and get your tickets. And we'll see you soon.